That time of the year again where Uniqlo are announcing their lineup for the autumn and winter season. I wasn't initially going to talk about it until I got my hands on the products, but somebody messaged me about the new collection, so let's get yapping. If you look back at the summer launch, then they announced the JW Anderson collaboration first, but this time we're getting the Uniqlo C first. It feels very similar to last year's collection, got this city dweller metropolitan aesthetics going on. They said they've added some selected items launching on Monday, the 21st of July, but they've actually just dropped some new products already.
Also, just to add, I noticed all the local pictures, the models are all running. I don't know why, but they've decided to do that. Just wanted to add that to the video.
Anyway, let's take a look at each items and see if there's anything that's worth you saving up for. Right, so first, let's look at the new items that you can buy right now. So the oversized sweatshirt. It looks exactly like the pullover hoodie, except with the hood removed, and the sizing has been compensated for it. The material composition is exactly the same. They got pretty much the same colors as well, except they've swapped out the 19 wine for a 34 brown. So if you're not into hoodies, which I've kind of fallen off them recently, then at £29, I think it's 100% worth picking up. Like, you can buy every single color of this sweater and still have some money left over compared to if you were to buy something from a designer brand. But let's not give Uniqlo any ideas on raising their prices. So beyond the oversized sweatshirts, they've also released some extra colors on the viral wide joggers. And you also get those exact colors in the pullover hoodie as well. And you've also got a wider color range for the broadcloth shirt. Now, as for the ladies, they're actually getting a few more products than us men. So they're getting the cotton cocoon shirt. Now, I know a lot of guys are getting the women's boxy crop Oxford shirt from the Uniqlo JWA collaboration, but I think this one might be a little bit too feminine. So the sleeves are slightly flared and have a much wider opening on the cuffs than a regular shirt. The body length is also narrower and the sleeve length is shorter. And it's also got an extreme drop shoulder as well, with a stitch line running across the chest. So personally, I will probably give this one a miss, but I can totally see a lot of people picking this one up. And another item that's coming in July, again, is just a color variation of an existing product. So the cotton crewneck, and they've actually included some male models in the product photography. So they are catering this for the male demographic. However, it's not actually listed in the men's product. But I think that one is definitely worth checking out if you're in the market to pick up something that's a little bit thinner, but still really good quality jumper. Oh, and they're also dropping the suede combination trainers and the utility shoulder bag at the end of July as well. But again, it's actually just a restock from last year. All right, let's take a look at the items that are actually going to be coming in September. So first one is the knit full zip jacket. I really like the design of this. So something that's 88% wool, 12% polyamide. It kind of reminds me of the lamb's wool jacket from last year's Uniqlo U collection. And one thing I don't like, which at the time I did like about it, is the positioning of the pockets. So because the lamb's wool jacket, the pockets were so high up, and it being wool, they were just non-functional. It would just drag the whole jumper down, and it just didn't look very aesthetically pleasing. So you just got these pockets that didn't really serve a purpose. Whereas the design of this, I think, is a lot more usable, so I'd definitely be interested in picking this one up. Next is the Block-Tech Parka. So this one's a 53% recycled fiber polyester parka, and if we compare this to the Block-Tech Parka from the main line, it uses 3% more recycled fiber, has an additional drawstring around the waist to keep wind out unless you adjust the fit. The pockets are slightly angled, better accessed, and also have 2 more pockets on your chest, but it's £40 extra compared to the mainline's Block-Tech Parka. I'm just not sure if it's worth the extra amount. And to be honest, nothing really suggests such a dramatic price difference neither. You know, a lot of those other things are kind of minor additions. So I'd probably wait for this one to go on sale before picking this one up. Now the PuffTech half coat, that's a lot more interesting. So they don't really have anything like this at the moment. Last year they did release something very similar, which had a hood, drawstrings, and quite oversized as well. So I think if you're looking for something more subtle and can keep you warm whilst having that kind of tailored casual look and feel to it, then I think this might be a good option. Next, let's have a look at the PuffTech Parker. So it's definitely a lesser version of the PuffTech Parker from last year. It's much thinner and it doesn't have the overlapping flap covering the zip. So you're going to get a lot more exposure to wind coming through the jacket. The price also reflects this as well, but it's only £10 cheaper than the original price of the Parker, which isn't a lot. Now, if you were to compare this one to the mainline's Parker, then that one I think just has too much going on. I'm not really a fan of the offset stitching neither, so I do prefer this over what they've got available on the main line. But if you haven't got a puff jacket yet, I think I'd rather just wait and see what the line release. Also, there's a seamless down Parker instead. It's on offer at the moment. It's a lot thicker, probably keeps you a lot warmer, and overall, I think it just looks a lot better. All right, next is the knit jacket. So this is just a restock from last year with a £10 inflation slapped on top of it. They did sell out very quickly last year, so if you are interested in checking this one out, then you can watch my video from last year. And for knit, there's also a low gauge high neck jumper as well. So I'm not a massive fan of anything that's got a high neck to it, so this one is a pass for me. And lastly, for the knits, we've got a Crewneck full zip cardigan. So this one is a little bit of an odd one. So I do really like the texture of it, and also in general, I do prefer cotton blend knits over wool-based knits, even if it's not a high percentage, because I know they won't get itchy. But I'm not a fan of the zip. I feel like it'd look a lot better if it had a similar silhouette to the knit full zip jacket. I think without a collar, the zip just doesn't look quite right. Also, no disrespect to the model, but the product photos are just not inspiring at all for this. So for me, if it was a regular crew neck without a zip, then I'd be totally down for it. But I think this is a bit of a miss for me. Next, we got some innerwear. So the Heattech Extra Warm Cashmere Blend. So they actually had this for the women's collection last year, and they've actually just added the men's silhouette as well, which is really nice. I personally do have a few Heattech pieces and they keep you insanely warm. So I'd definitely be interested to see how the cashmere blend holds up, because the main Heattech products, they are just a little bit plasticky, and whenever I take them off, just the amount of static that it generates is kind of annoying, but they do their job really well, so I just keep wearing them. So yeah, interested to see how these one will perform. And then lastly, we got some trousers. So the pleated straight trousers in a denim material. They caught my eyes straight away. We've been getting a lot of wide fit trousers lately, so a pair of straight trousers is definitely a welcome addition. The silhouette is more classic, obviously. Nice clean pleats at the top and the denim fabric that Uniqlo uses. I've actually got a pair right here, and it's quite thin compared to other denim materials that you might be familiar with. It's also very soft and it's got a bit of a stretch to it as well, which is quite nice. And I think these would just be really versatile for day-to-day wear. So if the fit is good, then these might become a go-to pair of trousers. Then we've got the easy wide tapered trousers. So these, I do think they have a very good shape to them, and they look more like a refined pair of sweatpants with a thinner drapey aesthetics to them, especially if you compare it to the wide joggers as well, which are more structured and a lot thicker. But given that these are 62% polyester, obviously I do prefer cotton-based products in general, and the U-line, they did release those, I think they're called curved trousers. So personally, I would just hope for something like that to be restocked rather than getting a pair of these, because I do think they're capable of releasing something better. So personally, I'd probably avoid this pair of trousers. And lastly, there's one product that I noticed on the website but isn't in the preview, and it's the cap. So they showed it very clearly in the Hero banner video, but it's nowhere to be found on the site. I've also checked all the sections and even searched by accessory fields as well, but it could be that they're holding this back until closer to launch day, or that is a limited region item. Either way, I'll keep an eye out for this one and let you know if it drops, because I actually do think this looks quite good. All right, so overall, I don't think it's a massive shift from last year's collection. Feels more like a 1.5 update to the collection rather than the whole new wardrobe drop, but there are some interesting pieces there. So the knit full zip jacket looks promising, especially if the fit is more wearable than the lamb wool jacket. I'm still on the fence about the Blocktech Parker's pricing. And then for the PuffTech half coat, that could be a sleeper hit for this season. I also feel like nothing's gonna sell out immediately like last year with the wide joggers. But obviously, if there's something that you really like the denim pleated trousers or the zip knit, then maybe set a reminder, because you never know with Uniqlo stock, the most unexpected items always end up selling out. Anyway, I'll be doing a try on and review once I get my hands on these products. So make sure you're subscribed if you want to see how they actually look and fit. And also let me know in the comments below which pieces you're eyeing, or if there's anything from the women's section that you think is worth grabbing too. All right, that's it for me today. And if you want to check out another video that I made recently, then you can click on this video right here. Catch you next time.